About 1 year ago, I got two games on Steam. I got Sonic Generations and I got Sonic Mania. 1 year later, a bunch of wasted time, and a destroyed sleep schedule, I've played every mainline Sonic the Hedgehog game. Why did I do this? That's right, I played all the mainline Sonic games, and oh boy, was it rough. Sonic the Hedgehog has been notorious for being a mixed bag of a franchise, and somehow it has seeped its way into my brain, and I have spent way too much time playing this insane catalog of games. And despite Sonic's rocky history, I do think it's overall a good franchise. There are some unironic, fantastic Sonic games, but there are also a couple that are complete trash. Why am I bringing this up? Well, in honor of my very pointless achievement, I'm going to rank every single mainline game from worst to best. And when I say every game, I mean only mainline Sonic games. And that's right, I'm not playing Sonic Boom, you can't make me. So grab a snack and enjoy my suffering. I say suffering because Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces sucks. This game is one of the most soulless cash grabs on the planet, outside of recent Pokemon games, but aside from that, the only redeeming qualities are the music, graphics, and the Shadow DLC, which was good. Everything else is trash. The story tries to be serious like the old Sonic Adventure and 2000s games, but because of Sonic constantly cracking jokes which aren't funny, and Eggman being treated like a child, the tone is an inconsistent mess, which makes any feeling of tension, and makes the actual good framing device of Eggman winning feel like a wasted idea and poor execution, and the gameplay is just boring. Sonic is way too fast, and the levels are way too quick. Right before you actually get into the groove of things, the level ends, and everything feels like an automated mess. The avatar levels are fine, I guess. They're kind of slow and a bit boring, but I don't know, they have some interesting gimmicks, but they aren't really fleshed out enough to be fun. Hey, Classic Sonic is back, and he sucks. Classic Sonic's physics are really bad, and the level design is atrocious, and somehow they made the music bad. Like, how do you do that, Sega? How? They introduced Infinite, who's a really basic and boring character with a very basic and boring backstory. They try to make him intimidated, but you never get invested in him, because they never actually explain who he is until the DLC. He's just blah. This game is also very short, only 3 hours and 30 quick levels, and the levels have no interest in them, and no interesting anything in them, and the atmosphere is just Green Hill and Chemical Plant for the 17,000th time. The whole game's just boring and disappointing. It had a lot of potential, but the execution is god-awful, with a boring story, boring gameplay, and a wasted potential. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's move on. This is just Mario Galaxy, but it's bad somehow. Yeah, this game is really weird. All the 3D levels are either flat, pill-shaped for some reason, or floating in it, or they're circular floating platforms for some reason. The music is honestly pretty good, and the weirdness of this game, with its odd physics and confusing platforming and abysmal story, kind of make it fun at some points, but still, that's the big problem. This game is really weird. And the physics are also just whack. Sonic has a run button for some reason. I don't know why they would do that. He can parkour on walls. Okay, he turns weird, he locks onto enemies weird, why would they do this? Also, the story it's better than Forces, but it's still not good. Eggman finds this floating planet in the sky called the Lost Hex, and he also finds these, I think there's 6 of them. There are these villains called, I think they're called the Zemi? I don't want to look it up, they suck. They're all basic one-note villains. Like, they're just terrible. And Eggman loses control of them, so we kind of have to team up with Sonic to defeat them. And I thought that was kind of a cool idea. And sometimes their banter was decent, but mostly it was just still a boring story and just a boring game overall. All the villains are boring, except with the one crazy guy at the beginning. I kind of liked him. The boss fights are easier than converting oxygen to carbon dioxide. The level design is fine. This game is... It's bad. It's not awful, because sometimes you have a little bit of fun by the weirdness, but still, it's just a chore. Next. I'm gonna upset people by this. Okay. So the Sonic CD was released on the Sega CD, which was an add-on for the Sega Genesis. And for the longest time, it was regarded as an amazing game. It was described as a lost gem, even though it was re-released. But everyone said, oh, you can never play this game ever again, but it was so good, you had to be there. And then it became widely available. Yeah, I don't like this game that much. It's a bit better than the last two, because the story and physics are decent. I mean, they're fine. Also, this game introduces Amy Rose and Metal Sonic, and I think they're pretty cool. But the gameplay is, it's not that good. This game is chock full of just annoying platforming and gimmicks and death pits and spikes everywhere. Why are there spikes everywhere? Every level there's spikes. It gives me anxiety. And also, the design, the theming of every level doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Instead of it being like, hey, what if we made a level where it's a forest? Or hey, instead it's just like, it doesn't make any sense at all. Like, the first level makes sense as being just the foresty area, but then their level's called Tidal Tempest. What is a Tidal Tempest, Sega? I would love to know. And also, the fact that every level doesn't make any sense at all, and I have no idea what they are, completely makes the idea of time travel in this game a total missed idea. Time travel, yeah, I know, it sounds fun. It sounds cool, doesn't it? Essentially, after you hit a signpost and you go fast enough, you can travel through time. Whoa, that's so cool, man! Except, it's not cool in this game, because every single level, it doesn't make any sense what you're looking at. Every level looks like a modern art painting. Who cares what the modern art painting looked like in the future or the past? It's a waste idea. It's a wasted idea. It'd be cooler if it was in a game like Sonic 2, where you could see what chemical plant looked like in the future or past, because that's because it's an actual place. But here, who cares if Metallic Madness used to be purple? Also, the boss fights are bad, because they're way too easy. And like, this game had everything going for it. I was really looking forward to it when I first played it, but it just ended up being a complete mess, and it was confusing. The story's pretty good though, and I really like the music. So hey, at least that's not as bad as the last two. Yay! The original Sonic the Hedgehog is really mid. Okay, so for being the first in the franchise, I think it was a pretty good starting point. It's pretty basic still, and it also has some questionable design choices. Green Hill, despite the fact that it's been resuscitated a bazillion times to be put in every modern Sonic game, I'm not gonna lie, the original Green Hill is still an amazing zone. It has the perfect amount of speed, perfect amount of platforming, it looks great, the music is amazing, it's perfect. Starlight Zone and Spring Yard Zone are also pretty cool. Starlight Zone is kind of annoying at points, but it has a lot of speed, and Spring Yard Zone is pretty fun. But, oh man, the other three zones are just absolutely terrible. Marble Zone is way too slow, with moving platforms you have to stand on, and lava. Labyrinth Zone is full of water, which you may think, hey, that sounds fun, I like water. Well, you're gonna hate this zone if you like water or not, because you don't swim. You walk through water like it's molasses. and you can drown. It's terrible. Also, Scrap Brain Zone doesn't get enough hate in my opinion, because it's just really infuriating. You either get crushed, you fall off a cliff, or you get stabbed. It's just a boring, annoying level, and the theming is just gross. This level is a mixed bag to say the least. Half the levels are pretty good, and half the levels are absolutely terrible. There's really not much to say. I think it's mediocre, but it's a lot better than the last 3 games. Let's just move on at this point. I mean, it's decent. This game it's alright. It's probably the most basic Sonic experience you can ever have. The story is not anything of note. Sonic beats up Eggman in an amusement park. It's alright. You expect there to be more depth to the story, but there really isn't. There's no really lead up to the climax. There's no, like, tension. It's just Eggman's making an amusement park, but there's something fishy going on, so Sonic beats him up. No, none of the characters have an arc. There's nothing. It's really simple. But hey, at least it isn't absolutely infuriating like Sonic Forces. But this game has some okay level design, and it introduced the Wisps, which are fun in this game and this game only. And Sonic's 3D physics are pretty decent. The boost is a little bit too powerful in my opinion, but I think overall him moving around in 3D is pretty fun. But 2D. Most of this gameplay is 2D in this game, and it just doesn't really control well. The way he jumps is just really finicky, and the platforming is very basic in 2D. And the levels range from being 7 minutes long to 30 seconds. And it's like, huh? This game is a real mixed bag. Although if you want to have the most basic Sonic game imaginable, play Sonic Colors, it's not bad. As I said, it's just mediocre. It's a bit better than Sonic 1, because at least it doesn't infuriate me. But I'm just kind of bored throughout it. But you know, it's alright. It's fine. It's whatever. This game is fine, I guess. Sonic Heroes is, I think it's decent. I get why a lot of people say that it's amazing, but every time I play this game, I just think, yeah, that was fine. I feel like overall the story is nothing to sneeze at. It's nothing too bad, but it's not really as special as the earlier 3D Sonic games that had very in-depth stories. Also, this game's gameplay has a pretty cool gimmick of you play as 3 characters at once, and you know, one of them has a speed ability, one of them has a fighting ability, one of them has a flying ability, which I thought was kind of cool, but also, and it added some cool puzzle mechanics into levels, but also I feel like was kind of wasted on this game, because Sonic Heroes is so slippery. Every single time I play this game, I end up accidentally air dashing off of a level, or just falling, because the amount of death pits in this game are so obnoxious. Every single level I die at least 5 times because I just accidentally just fell or accidentally flew off, or a character hit me and I just flew to the atmosphere. And sometimes it's just luck if you're gonna make it through some of these levels, because they're so full of annoying gimmicks that can instantly kill you. And also this game, and having to reset the levels after dying a couple of times is kind of annoying. So this game, I never really had too much of a great time with it. I do think it's still alright, and I get why people really like it, but I just don't really think it's for me. Although the game does have variety, you can play as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, which is the normal difficulty. You can play as Shadow, Rouge, and Omega, which is the harder difficulty. You can play as Amy, Cream, and Big, which is the easy difficulty, probably the best one, because the levels are tolerable in that one. And then you can play as the Chaotix, and their gameplay is so confusing that I don't even want to describe it, because having to play through it was a challenge in of itself. This game is fine. I think it's alright. Moving on, I guess. Okay. Hear me out here. Yes, Sonic 06 is a buggy, janky, unfinished mess of a game, and it's absolutely broken beyond repair. But the level design itself is not that bad, and I honestly think this game is pretty fun. First of all, this game has a large variety of gameplay, like design ideas. Not every single level is just Sonic. You have a bunch of different playable characters. But let's start with Sonic. Sonic is, I feel like, I think he's pretty good in this game. He's pretty good. His physics are a little bit janky, but you get used to them after you play as him for a while. And his levels are the same design as Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, and Sonic Heroes levels. Very linear. There's some branching paths in some levels, but it's very linear with speed and platforming. And I think sometimes the levels are a little bit annoying, but overall I think they're pretty decent. Shadow is easily the highlight of this game. He's great. His combat system is amazing. He can shoot lasers, and he can just he can ride motorcycles. That's so cool. That's so cool. Whoa. That's so cool. And Silver the Hedgehog is the new character, and he has psychokinesis, which essentially means he has like cool powers and stuff. What he can do is that he can move objects with his mind, so his gameplay is not speed-based, it's sort of puzzle-based, where you have to pick up objects around you and throw them at enemies, and it looks really funny, and also it's pretty fun. He can float for a bit. His levels are way slower, as I said, but I still think they're pretty fun. Now those are the three main characters, but within their levels, sometimes you get to play some different characters, like Tails. Tails is obviously, he's Sonic's buddy. I don't really like how he controls in this game. I think his flying is fine, but he literally has to throw ring bombs at enemies to injure them, and it's just kind of annoying. I think Amy is surprisingly pretty fun in this game. She has a double jump and can turn invisible for some reason, but her hammer is a bit slow at points. Knuckles, I really liked Knuckles in this game, honestly. His gliding feels really good. His climbing feels really good. It looks a little janky. Also, he has flaming punches. That's awesome. That's so cool. Rouge I think she's pretty good. She's basically just Knuckles, but her combat is a bit slower and a little bit more finicky, so she's a bit worse, but I still think she's good. Omega is surprisingly really good. He's worse than some earlier playable robots in the Sonic series, but I still think the way that he throws lasers at enemies is pretty fun, and I like him. And then there's also Blaze, who I think is the best playable character in this game, which is a shame because she's not in it enough. Blaze is great. She just has great physics. She has like a bunch of fiery abilities. She can float in the air. She can lock onto enemies. She's just the highlight of the game in my opinion. And oh boy, here comes the most confusing part of the game. The game's story. This game's story is absolutely insane. It's hard to describe without going into the 30 different plot lines that happen at once, but I'm gonna give you all the dummies version of it. So essentially, 10 years ago, a bunch of European people did this thing called the Solaris Project. Essentially, they accidentally created this being called Solaris that was split into two. It was split into like this fiery part called Iblis and the shadowy part called Mephiles. And Iblis was contained in Princess Elise, who is a character who has a really weird relationship with Sonic that for some reason has romantic tension between the two of them, which is really gross and weird. And Mephiles is sealed inside a dark scepter. So as Shadow the Hedgehog, him and Rouge find the scepter and they break it because Eggman's there. It's a long story, but they break it, and then Mephiles uses Shadow to take form, so he looks like Shadow, and he shadows Shadow, who is a shadow, and you say Shadow a lot in this story, and he's like, he wants to basically fuse with Iblis, become Solaris, and destroy the world. He's like the main villain of the game. And Mephiles just gaslights and manipulates everyone. He tells Silver to go kill Sonic. he tells Shadow the world's gonna turn on against him, but basically everyone just defeat him eventually, and at the end he's like, man, what am I gonna do to be able to fuse with Iblis? Oh, I know, he kills Sonic. He just kills him. He literally just kills Sonic, and then Iblis is released, and then they fuse to make Solaris, and then Sonic is dead, and everyone's in a void, and they're like, oh god, how do we defeat Solaris? And they're like, oh, I know what we gotta do. We gotta collect the Chaos Emeralds, and we gotta revive Sonic. And so all of his friends team together to revive Sonic using the Chaos Emeralds, and then Elise kisses Sonic. Elise kisses Sonic. Who did this? And why did they do this? Anyway, Sonic, Shadow, and Silver all go Super Saiyan, then they delete Solaris. And after that, it cuts to Elise and Sonic floating in a different void, and then Elise is like, if I blow out these flames that are in front of me for some reason, I can erase Solaris from existence. And then she does it. And when they erase Solaris, they erase the entire story of this game from ever existing. They erase Mephiles, they erase Iblis, they erase everything that happened. The characters still exist, but the story doesn't. And that's hilarious. I think it's a bit of a shame because I liked the story, and I think Mephiles was pretty cool. But oh my god, that's amazing. This game is absolutely insane. I think it's pretty good. I like it. Mephiles is cool. The music is good. I think it's a good game. But oh my god, is it broken. Hee, funny Shadow the Hedgehog. This game is insane. Shadow the Hedgehog is notorious for being one of the bad Sonic the Hedgehog games. I disagree. Its physics are insanely slippery, I will say that. But the level design itself is not terrible. I actually like the idea of having alternate paths, even if this game did went a bit overboard with it. The way it works is that in every level, you can do a set of 3 or 2 tasks during the level, which range from killing a certain amount of enemies to finding collectibles, and it will determine what your next level will be. And I think that's pretty cool. Although some of the missions that you have to do to beat the game are a little bit annoying. And also, I think this game's story is pretty cool. Shadow has amnesia and has no idea who he is. So while he's brooding in a park, thinking about his only memory, which is Maria getting shot, aliens invade LA, and the alien leader says, "Hey Shadow, if you get me all the Chaos Emeralds, I'll tell you who you are." And so Shadow goes to find the Chaos Emeralds, but he has sort of an internal conflict because he's not sure whose side to take during the game. He can team up with Sonic, who's against the aliens and Eggman. He can team up with GUN, who's with Sonic but against Shadow, aliens, and Eggman. He can team up with the aliens, who are against everyone but are with Shadow, or he can team up with Eggman, who is against literally everyone. At the end of the game, he ends up giving Black Doom the Chaos Emeralds to figure out his past, and it is revealed that Black Doom helped create Shadow. Shadow realizes also that he wasn't meant for destruction, but instead he was meant to protect the planet, sort of repeating his arc in Sonic Adventure 2. And so after realizing what his full potential is, he destroys Black Doom, and he destroys all the aliens that are trying to take over the planet, and he saves the world. He says, and then at the end of the game, he's like, I don't care what I was created for, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and the thing I want to do is protect my friends and the planet, which I think is a pretty good story, honestly. I really like Shadow's character arc in this game. Also, the atmosphere of this game is pretty cool. You have prison, you have a destroyed city, you have ruins, you have an alien base on a meteor, a cool digital area, and a spooky castle. And also, this game has an awesome soundtrack, probably my third favorite, with a bunch of just great music throughout the entire game. Death Ruins is an awesome backing track, Westopolis has a cool backing track, Digital Circus has another cool backing track. I really like the music in the level called The Doom, because it's very relaxing, even though this level takes place in space and chaos is happening. I really like Almost Dead. I think that's one of the better vocal tracks in this game. And the main theme of I Am All of Me is also pretty good. This game, overall, I thought it was really good. It's pretty janky and kind of messy, and also I feel like sometimes the story is a little bit overboard, but overall I think it is a good game. Also, guns. This game went from being one of the best Sonic games to simply being a good Sonic game. This game has really high highs and also really low lows. But first of all, let's talk about the good stuff here. This game has great music, absolute bangers, consistently. Even the levels that suck have amazing music. Heck, actually, the level that I hate the most in this game has the best music, which is hilarious. And also, I think Michael Jackson worked on the soundtrack. He wasn't credited because of some legal stuff, but you can look it up, he worked on it. And anyway, as I said, the music's great, and half of the levels, or like a little bit more than half, are really good. The levels that are great are Ice Cap. It's a snowy level. I love snowy levels, so it automatically is good, but also the gameplay design itself is really fun. Angel Island is just Green Hill, but cooler. Hydro City, or Hydrocity, I like to say Hydrocity because it's funny, is somehow the only Sonic water level that's actually fun, and Flying Battery doesn't get enough credit. But with those levels, there's also Mushroom Hill and Lava Reef, which are like just okay. And also Sandopolis is the single worst classic Sonic level to exist. The first act is boring and bland, the second one has ghosts and a maze, and it sucks! It's just so annoying, and it lasts like 20 minutes, and it's like, why? Also, look man, I'm sorry, Sky Sanctuary is just really bad. Level design is really boring, and the mini-bosses are just okay. Although I do gotta say, Blue Spheres is a great special stage. Also, I really like the story. Eggman manipulates Knuckles to think Sonic is the bad guy, and when Eggman betrays Knuckles, Sonic is like, hey, let's beat up Eggman together, and they live as best friends forever. This game has a lot going on for it, for a Sega Genesis game, and the physics are great, and the music is awesome, but some of the levels are just so blah that I gotta put this game so low. Although if you like it, that's fair. I honestly didn't expect this when I first played it, but you know what? Sonic 2 is the best classic Sonic game. I mean, it's not a high bar, because two of them are not that great. But you know what? I think this one's really good. This game has some awesome levels with amazing speed, music, design. This game just has such a cozy vibe to it. Chemical Plant, it's great. It's an amazing level. Emerald Hill is just Green Hill, but better. Hilltop Zone is underrated. It's amazing. Casino Night, the gambling zone, is somehow actually really fun. Mystic Cave is also totally underrated, and I love the music from Mystic Cave. I'm playing it right now. Although Metropolis Zone does kind of suck and Sky Chase is boring, still, even though there are a couple of games later in the game, there are a couple levels later in the game that are just kind of annoying. The other levels are such a high quality of good. It's just so fun. It's a great sense of speed. It's a great sense of platforming. It isn't too easy. It isn't too hard. It isn't too infuriating. The level design seems fair. And it isn't boring. It isn't boring, which is a great thing to be in a game. It's just fun. It's just a really fun game. And the boss fight's pretty cool. Although the special stages are just mean. But overall, I think this is a really great game, and the best classic Sonic game. I love the Sonic Adventure trilogy. The games have great speed and atmosphere with different playable characters, and they're just awesome. I think they're such good games, better than the classic series in my opinion. But out of all of them, Sonic Advance 2 is the weakest. It's still great, and I really like the earlier levels in the game. I think Cream is a really fun new character who breaks the game by being able to throw a chow at boss fights, making them really easy. The music is fine. I mean, it's a Game Boy Advance game, so you can't expect much, but still the music is just okay. The gameplay is really good. There's a ton of speed. I think the trick system is pretty fun. Until later in the game, but I'll get to that in a second. And overall, I think the platforming's pretty great, a lot of sense of speed, and the game isn't too annoying. Until Sky Canyon. There's a level called Sky Canyon where you have to use the trick system to get over some obstacles. The trick system basically is if you press one of the shoulder buttons while you're in the air, you can either move up, down, or side to side. And I think that's a fun little add-on, but some levels make it mandatory in order to beat the levels, which, like, I think that's just kind of annoying, because, like, it's a fun gimmick, but you're using it a bit too much, and it's really easy to just make you die over and over again. Speaking of dying over and over again, this game has a similar problem to Sonic Heroes, but it's not that the levels are long, it's that whenever you get a game over, after you lose all your 5 lives, you restart to the first act of the zone. Yeah, so if you beat Act 1 and 2, but then die during the boss fight, you have to replay Act 1 and 2, and then the boss fight. So it makes the game unnecessarily difficult at some points. But I still think it's a really fun game with some cool ideas, and I think having playable Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles and Cream are great. I still think it's a really good game, but still it's bogged down a bit by the annoying life system and trick system. Still really good though. Yes! Finally! An actual great game! I feel like Sonic Generations is a little bit overrated. I feel like anytime I hear anyone talk about it, they're like, oh yeah, Sonic Generations, best game in the franchise, it saved my marriage. But I think it's a bit overrated, but I still do really like it. The game's 2D levels are great, with actually fun references, and there's still not too much 2D. And the 2D levels aren't as good as the 3D levels, and obviously there aren't any unique themes, because Generations is just basically a highlight reel of every Sonic game before. It takes old levels and it remixes them, and it remixes the music. And also the story is, who cares about the story, because the story is just bland this time. But the 3D levels are fast-paced with pretty good platforming. Sometimes they're a little bit too automated with just holding the boost button, but I still think they're really fun. The 2D levels are great, the music is amazing. There really aren't any glaring flaws in this game. It's just an overall good game. But the final boss fight's kind of mid. Not much to say. I really like this game. I'm really hoping Shadow Generations is actually good. Sonic Superstars is the most recent Sonic game. I think it's pretty great. It's probably the most consistently good Sonic game. Basically, every other Sonic game, even the ones that I love, except one really, have at least one level or one section that are just awful, but this game is pretty consistently good. But then again, there aren't really sections of this game that are fantastic, it's just consistently good. But still, I really like this game. The level design is fun, with good speed, and a bunch of different paths, and a bunch of fun gimmicks, not annoying gimmicks, like the timer and conveyor belts, also spaceships. The special levels they're alright, they're creative, and I think they're okay. Also, every time you get a Chaos Emerald, you get a cool little power-up. That's pretty neat. And also, the power-ups range from being able to turn into water to having a million clones of yourself, which is pretty funny. The story is actually pretty good. Eggman recruits Fang the Sniper and Trip, who's like this dragon girl, ends up joining Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy to defeat Eggman and Fang, since Trip was basically bullied by Fang the entire game. And she's pretty cool, I like her character. Also, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles control pretty well, basically how they always have. And Amy has a double jump in this game, which is the first time she's ever had that, even though in earlier games she could turn invisible for some reason. This game sounds perfect, right? It almost sounds like the best Sonic game. Well, close, because, as I said, there aren't any levels that are, like, amazing. Basically, everything is just consistently good, and all the boss fights are just So, other than that, this game is pretty awesome. I don't really have too much to say about it. I think it's really good, but just really good. Although play it, it's worth it. Oh yeah, Sonic Adventure! Woo, this game is awesome! Okay, I love this game. So let's start off with some good stuff. First of all, the music is absolutely amazing. Open Your Heart is an awesome main theme. Basically every single instrumental track is also great. I really love the music in this game. And also the story is really confusing, but I think it's pretty good, and I'll give you guys the explanation for dummies. So there's a water god inside the Master Emerald that killed off the Echidna tribe a while ago, but Eggman breaks the Master Emerald, releasing the god, it's called Chaos, to take over the world. He's like, if I give it all the Chaos Emeralds, then we can team up and destroy the world. So after some shenanigans with Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Big the Cat, Chaos goes ballistic, and Eggman realizes that he can't control his power, so Chaos turns into Perfect Chaos and floods LA. But then they're like, hey, wait a minute, Chaos used only the negative powers of the Chaos Emeralds, so let's give Sonic the positive powers. So Sonic goes Supersonic and beats up Chaos. And then Chaos is defeated, and everyone's happy. But there are also a ton of side plots in the story, like Knuckles trying to find the pieces of the Master Emerald, Tails gaining confidence, which I thought was pretty cool, Big the Cat finding his frog friend, and also the best side plot by far is that there's a character who is an Eggman robot who goes against his code to save the animals trapped inside other robots before realizing there's an animal trapped inside him, so he sacrifices himself to save the innocent life trapped inside him. Which is honestly amazing storytelling. I really liked his character. It's a shame that he's dead now, they can never bring him back, but I thought that he was the best part of the game. And the gameplay is cool too! Sonic runs around in big 3D areas with great speed, physics, level design. They have snowboarding stuff, they have a giant snake monster in one level, and they have a casino? Why is there a shower animation in the casino? Who did this? Tails' levels are just Sonic's levels, but he has to race Sonic to the end. And he can also fly and do some cool shortcuts, which I think is fun. Knuckles, instead of having a linear end, he has to search the levels for pieces of the Master Emerald. So he flies around in big open areas, and he has a radar. He can climb and he can fly. I think it's pretty fun. I like it. Amy kinda sucks. She's really slow and can barely jump, and has to use her hammer to deal damage, and she's constantly being chased. Thankfully, she only has 3 levels, but they're still pretty bad. Big the Cat. Fishing. Need I say more? E103, yeah, he is a robot, and he can float, and he can shoot lasers, and he's a robot, and he's Eggman robot, and he goes through levels, and he can shoot stuff, and he can float, and he has lasers, and I love it. This game is pretty sick. If Amy and Big the Cat, if their gameplay was a bit better, this would probably be #1. But until Sega makes a proper remake of this game, it's still pretty awesome. Samus from terms is pretty cool. After consistently failing with Sonic Forces and Sonic Lost World, and in my opinion, Sonic Colors, Sega said, hey, what if we made a Sonic game, but it was actually good for once? And this game is fantastic. First of all, obviously the music is great. It's just, the boss themes are amazing with some awesome vocals and insane guitar riffs. The cyberspace music is great, I really like it. And I just think most of the music in this game is pretty cool. I think the ethereal soundtrack while you're just running around the world is a little basic, but that's really my only complaint. Also, this game breaks from the norm of Sonic level design, and it takes place in an open zone, which is basically just Sonic Breath of the Wild. It's kind of like It's kind of like an open world game, but also not really. You can you can battle bosses, you can collect character tokens, and you can just have fun running around, fighting obstacles and enemies. But after you beat the little bosses that you find, you can get portal gears, which open up cyberspace levels, which are essentially the stand-in for regular Sonic levels with linear design. And I think they're pretty cool. Of course, the theming is either Chemical Plant or Green Hill or Sky Sanctuary again, but hey Sega, I'm gonna let it slide because the gameplay is cool. And here's the fun part about these levels, they aren't just completely original, there are sometimes they're old levels that have been reskinned, and usually I think that's just nostalgia bait. But here, because of the new physics system, and new music, and new theming, kinda new theming, I actually kinda like it, and I think it's cool how they put a twist on the old levels while also creating new levels for cyberspace. And speaking of Sonic's physics, which I talked on a little earlier, I think they're really good in this game. They toned down the boost to make it just a run button, and surprisingly it works really well. He has a whole combat system, just like Sonic Unleashed, but this one is insane. He has so many different kinds of attack combos you can do, and instead of it being annoying, it's just fun. Speaking of fun, the Supersonic boss fights. These are objectively the best boss fights in the Sonic franchise. They are perfect. The insane rock music while fighting a giant robot with quick time events and the battle system, and you're floating and everything is just perfect. Easily the best part of the game. Also, the story is fantastic. Every character has actual character development. The story has a consistent tone. Sonic is actually a good person who cares for his friends, and his banter with Knuckles is pretty good. Amy and Sonic's conversations are sometimes a bit too serious, but I prefer serious Sonic as opposed to annoying Sonic. Also, props to the voice actors who did a great job as Eggman. He's way more somber and actually acknowledges that he respects Sonic and hates him at the same time. He's less jokey and more serious, and I like that version of him. Also, Eggman has an AI daughter in this game named Sage, and she's a really great character. I don't want to spoil the ending, but it's just so perfect. I don't even want to spoil it because I want you to play this game because it's really fun. But the ending is fantastic. It is somehow very emotional. And also the DLC for this game, you can play as Knuckles, Tails, and Amy, which is pretty cool. Overall, I think this game is fantastic. I am so happy that Sega finally found their footing, and I hope they make a sequel, because if they do, and if they sort of iron out the couple flaws in this game, a sequel to this could be the best Sonic game ever made. But I really like this game. Hey, remember when I said I loved Sonic Advance? Yeah, this is why. This game is amazing. The level design is borderline perfect. It is so filled with speed and platforming, and the theming is amazing. From Angel Island to an icy mountain to a secret base full of lava, a beach, a casino. Awesome! There really is not much to say. Sonic controls great in this game. He's just his basic 2D, his basic 2D controls. They control well. He isn't janky, he isn't clunky, he just controls great. Tails controls good too. Knuckles' gliding is a bit slow, but I still think he controls well. And Amy is, well, at least she's fast. She can't attack normally and has to use her hammer to damage enemies, which is pretty annoying. She also can't spin dash or turn into a ball. And also some of the boss fights in this game are a little annoying, and the last couple levels are full of spikes and take a while and get irritating after a while. But other than that, there's really not many problems with this game. It's almost perfect. And just like Sonic Frontiers, if you fix the couple of problems in this game, it'd be #1. But there are still 4 more games that somehow managed to top this. Oh yeah, and also one more Sonic Advance game. Hey look, it's the other Sonic Advance game. So this game is basically if you took Sonic Heroes, made it 2D, and made it amazing. This game has the gimmick of combining two characters to play as in you can either play as Knuckles and Tails, or Amy and Sonic, or Cream and Knuckles, and Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles, and also you combine their abilities. It's pretty cool. So if you play as Sonic and Amy has Sonic Spin Dash, and also Amy has a little boost forward. And if you play as Knuckles and Tails, then Tails has a little bit of a boost whenever he begins to fly, which is pretty cool. I think that's a pretty fun gimmick that really makes the game really replayable, and it also adds a bunch of different ways to explore the levels. Speaking of the levels, the level design is, as I said in the last game, amazing. It's fast, it works perfectly, it's speedy, it's great. No notes, literally perfect. It's speed and platforming combined perfectly. Also, the theming, again, is awesome. There's highways, sunsets, forest, icy waters, and a cyber track. I don't know what a cyber track is, but it's cool, unlike the cyber truck, which is bad. Although, as I said in the last game, there are a couple of annoying gimmicks, like some slow-moving platforms where you can get crushed, and some of the death pits are annoying. But other than that, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. I mean, I guess the story isn't anything of note, but like, that isn't really a problem. I mean, I literally forgot the plot, so I don't really care. But that's really it. This game is amazing. There's barely anything else to say. How does Sega top this? Honestly, I didn't think Sonic Adventure 2 was going to be this high when I first played it, but I replay this game a ton because it is just awesome. Okay, so why do I love this game? First of all, the gameplay is immaculate. Sonic and Shadow have amazing physics with fast-paced levels where you're in control and the music is awesome, and it's just you're speeding through it, you're going at the speed of sound, and yet you feel like you're in control. You're not just holding forward on the move button and you're just going forward. No, you actually have to control through the levels or else you'll fall and die. So I think the Sonic and Shadow gameplay is pretty awesome. Eggman and Tails both have mech levels, which range from being pretty good to pretty not good. I feel like they're the most mixed bag part of the game. Knuckles and Rouge perform how Knuckles did in his in Sonic Advance. He searches for Master Emerald pieces in this game as well, but these games for Knuckles have way bigger levels with a bigger scope, and his radar only detects one emerald at a time. So it's a bit harder and it takes longer, and I honestly prefer that compared to it being shorter and more easier. So I think Knuckles is better in this game, and he has more physics, and he has more refined physics, like how he can dive and dig way more easily in this game. I think it's great. Overall, the gameplay of this game is pretty solid, and the music is just awesome. For some reason, this game has a huge variety of songs in the soundtrack, from the regular rock instrumentals for Sonic's levels, to jazz for Rouge, to just rap music for Knuckles. Like, full rap songs for Knuckles. Okay, I mean, I'm not complaining, they're kinda good. And overall, this game is pretty awesome, and the story is probably the best Sonic the Hedgehog story ever. In the history of the franchise, this easily has the best story. It's really complicated to fully explain the plot in depth because there are a lot of subplots and different like little subsections of the lore that's really hard to explain. I normally would give you like the basic version, like the version for dummies, but honestly, I don't even want to spoil the ending for this game because it is so good, and also it's pretty easily available to play if you have a PC or you have, I believe, an Xbox. So I just want people to experience this game, but it mostly focuses around Shadow the Hedgehog, who's probably the greatest character in the Sonic franchise, in my opinion, and my favorite character. The whole story just focuses around him and his origins and everyone's relations with him, and also introducing new characters like Rouge the Bat, Gerald Robotnik, Maria, the history of sort of Dr. Robotnik's family. It sort of redoes Tails' arc, which of him gaining confidence, and Amy's one scene with Shadow is pretty good, and the ending is I don't want to spoil it, but the ending to this game is so insane that it's amazing. You just gotta experience it for yourself. Every single character, from Sonic to Eggman to Shadow to Rouge to Tails to the President of the United States, is portrayed absolutely perfectly in this game. Sonic is not annoying for once. He's actually an enjoyable, likable character who you're rooting for. Shadow's backstory makes his whole arc throughout this game tragic. Rouge is just a fun character. Eggman is threatening and hilarious at the exact same time. Tails is fine. I don't know. I like Tails in this game. He's good. I know that was very vague, but seriously, this game is amazing. You gotta play it. Sonic Adventure 2 is a curveball, to say the least. I never expected it to be as great as it was, even after I first completed it. But I've played this game like 6 times, and every time I thoroughly enjoy it. Highly recommend. How did this happen? This was the last Sonic game I played whilst I was working through playing all 20 of them, and I never expected Unleashed to be fantastic or even great. From what I saw, it looked like a mediocre boost formula Sonic game, and I thought it was mediocre. I thought it was going to be mediocre. Anyway, I played it, and I loved it. Sonic's daytime gameplay is awesome. Intense speed, but you feel in control. You're going at the speed of sound, but you feel like you can control yourself when you actually, it isn't automated. You feel like you're really playing it. The levels aren't too slow, they aren't too long. You feel powerful, and it's awesome. He's insanely fast. It's exhilarating, and holding down the boost button is never the answer to the levels. You're supposed to slow down. You're supposed to check out the branching paths. You're supposed to actually play the game. It's like the anti-Sonic Forces. And it's amazing. The nighttime stages are also so fun. The combat feels great. The slow methodical platforming is fun. And the music! From energetic daytime themes matching the country each area is based off of, to soothing nighttime music to platform to. The story is pretty cool. And the story is also pretty cool. Eggman awakens a god and turns Sonic into a werehog, don't ask. The god gets out of control, and Sonic and Chip, who is just a little guy, who is also a god for some reason, defeat Dark Gaia, the bad guy. And Chip has to leave Sonic, and it's kind of an emotional scene at the end. Eggman's also pretty cool in this game. He is goofy, but he still has a serious bit of him, and he actually created Eggman Land, which is a very, very mean level. And I actually think Eggman's pretty fun in this game. He isn't annoying at all. I actually think his jokes fit pretty well. And I just like the story. It's not the best, but I still think it's just pretty fun. And this game is just fantastic. I love it. But there are 2 big problems. 1. Medallions. In order to unlock some of the later levels in the game, you have to collect a certain amount of medallions in order to unlock each one. And at the end of the game, you need to collect... how much do you think you're supposed to collect? Maybe like 50, 40, maybe 60, 120 sun medals and 90 moon medallions. Why? That is a total of 190 different collectibles that are necessary for completing the game, which is obscene. Also, I gotta say, this game has a lot of quick time events, which can sometimes be kind of fun, but also sometimes kind of annoying, and especially since I'm not too used to the Xbox controller, and so sometimes whenever it's like, hey, if you don't press 5 different buttons in a rapid succession, you'll die and have to restart the level, that's kind of annoying, but I got used to it after a while. And the final boss fight is just okay. I think controlling Gaia Colossus was kind of annoying, but the ending and music was pretty sick. But other than those kind of mild problems, that's really it. This game is fantastic. It is the best 3D Sonic game ever so far, and the second best Sonic game of all time. Yet somehow, there's still one more that tops it. Alright, number 1. The single best Sonic the Hedgehog game. After reviewing every single one, and playing through every single one, I can officially say that the #1 best Sonic the Hedgehog game is... Sonic Mania, baby! Woo! I love Sonic Mania! Sonic Mania Fever! Sonic Mania is the best Sonic Mania! Yeah, I love Sonic Mania! Okay, so why do I think Sonic Mania is the best Sonic the Hedgehog game? Because objectively it is. This game looks beautiful. It has absolutely amazing pixel art, and just every single level makes my eyes feel like I'm just looking at the most beautiful piece of art I've ever seen. This game looks amazing. Also, the controls in this game are the best 2D controls, and you can't convince me otherwise. Sonic jumps perfectly, his speed feels perfect, his sprite, everything is absolutely perfect in the game. And also, the gameplay of this game is also perfect. This game consists of old and new levels that have been changed in their layout and their design to make them actually feel new. So it makes bringing back Green Hill and Chemical Plant again actually feel deserved, because it isn't just like, whoa, look, Green Hill and Chemical Plant. It's, whoa, look, a good level that just happens to be Green Hill and Chemical Plant. Every single level in this game is amazing. They have the perfect amount of speed, the perfect amount of platforming, and the music is just amazing. Also, the new levels in this game are chock full of creative ideas and creative gimmicks. A cherry blossom snowy forest outside of a printing press factory, a whole zone themed around media, an actual good desert themed level. This game has literally everything you could ask for. It's the single perfect 2D platformer. I have almost no notes, and the DLC you can play as Ray and Mighty, who are some old forgotten Sonic characters who were brought back for this game, and they're fun. And also the DLC, it makes the levels look different and adds a little bit of and it changes the layout of them a little bit with the cool team mechanic. This game is literally perfect. The only, and I mean only, problem with it is I think the story the story leads into Sonic Forces, but let's not worry about that. And I think reusing Green Hill again and Chemical Plant again, even if it feels deserved, it is still just kind of annoying, and the story is basically nothing. But other than that, perfect. Every boss fight, every level, every single inch of this game is amazing. The music is fantastic, completely remixing old tracks and making new ones, a truly timeless experience with only 2 problems, which is 2 very minor problems. The best 2D platformer ever, in my opinion, and the best Sonic the Hedgehog game. Well, I did it. I finished ranking every single Sonic the Hedgehog game. Before anyone gets interested and thinks, hey, all these Sonic games sound fun, I should play all 20 of them. Please don't. Please don't. Some of these games are really bad and will make you angry, and heck, even some of the games I like, I can confirm some people will hate them. But if you're gonna take anything from this video, it's that some Sonic games actually are unironically really great, and you should play Sonic Mania. Also, listen to Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Adventure 2's soundtrack. And leave a comment if you want to. I don't know, man. Do whatever you want. It's not like I'm obligating you to do it. But now, I can finally rest. I've played 20 Sonic the Hedgehog games, and I'm ready to get a good sleep schedule. Just kidding! Shadow Generations is coming out, and I'm gonna review that, and also Sonic Movie 3. It's never gonna be over. I haven't played the Storybook Sonic series, I haven't played Sonic Rush, I haven't played Sonic Rush Adventure, or heck, I haven't even played Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. Sonic will continue until the sun explodes. I have lost my mind. I have played 20 Sonic the Hedgehog games, and I have lost my mind. Well, with that said, have a good day, subscribe if you wanna, but I'm done.